that
four
part.
is the soloist, and it's also possible to feel like an imposter even if you had to ask for help to reach a certain level or status. Since you couldn't get there on your own, you question your competence or abilities. And the final the final type is the super person. And this type of imposter syndrome involves believing that you must be the hardest worker or reach the highest levels of achievement possible. And if you don't, then you're a fraud. That's a lot of weight to carry in one body, right? Now,
The thing is, I'm sorry. The thing is, I've heard, when I think about the super person part, it makes me think of a lot of men I know. That's just me, that I've known in my life where they didn't really feel like they were successful because they hadn't accomplished all those things and had all of those specific things at one point. Now, I'm not saying that trying to, be, focus driven and accomplish certain goals or have high standards or things like that is imposter syndrome. No. You're supposed to have, goals and achievements and accomplishments and do your best and excel and work the best you have, whatever it is that you endeavor. It's just that there seems to be a line where, when do you feel satisfied that you're not doing these things, where you're not feeling like a perfectionist, or you're not feeling like, oh God, you made a mistake, so it was the worst thing, and you're just drilling yourself, and, because a lot of these things we're going over are related to mental if when unchecked or unaware or not even addressed, they lead to mental illness, and sometimes they lead to things like self-harm. March is self-harm awareness month, and some people actually have had practices in self-harm when they're going through those trials and tribulations of imposters, that when it accumulated so much, there's been those unfortunate incidents. But for me, hi, thank you for coming in, Table of Kings. Nice to see ya. Hello. For me, the natural genius and the soloist. For the same reason as a natural genius, criticism, punishment, deep punishment, isolation was a form of punishment, or various other things that had me like, I can't screw up because, whatever. So, yeah.
Right. I got you. So that's kind of heavy a little. Like, I had to breathe through that for a moment, because recognizing that these are things that could be affecting your mental health in a negative way. It's like, wow. And sometimes you don't even realize you were having that experience. Like our guest said, Mama AI, she said, in the moment, we forget to feel in the moment. So I'm guilty of that, but I know why it happens, because discomfort and not wanting to have to swallow certain pills, and, pills figuratively and literally, right? And, so how do you know if you have imposter syndrome is the next part of the article. And it says the concept of imposter syndrome was thought to apply mostly to high achieving women. Since then, it has been recognized as a more widely appreciated phenomenon, and it can affect anyone, no matter their social status, their work background, their skill level, or degree of expertise. It is not recognized as a mental health disorder in the DSM-5. However, it is estimated that 70% of people will experience at least one episode of this phenomenon at some point in their lives. Everyone, which is interesting, right? So if you wonder whether you might have imposter syndrome, you can ask yourself the following questions.
Okay.
Do you agonize over even the smallest mistakes or flaws in your work? Do you attribute your success to luck or outside factors? Are you sensitive to even constructive criticism? Do you feel like you will inevitably be found out as a phony? And the final question is, do you downplay your own expertise, even in areas where you are genuinely more skilled than others? So if you find yourself feeling like you are a fraud or an imposter, it may be helpful to talk to a therapist. The negative thinking, the self-doubt, the self-sabotage that often characterize imposter syndrome can affect many areas in your life, right? That stuff can start spilling over to all of your important parts of your life, where it can spill over, and it can feel like a number of different things. The inability to realistically assess your competence and skills, attributing your success to external factors, berating your performance, fear that you won't live up to expectations, overachieving, sabotaging your own success, self-doubt, and setting very challenging goals and feeling disappointed when you fall short. Now, I know on a daily basis, I probably have done a couple of these, unfortunately, but I'm recognizing what it is and what it does in my life, right? And that's the point of having these conversations and sharing information like this, is not it's to educate, right? And to give people the opportunity to heal. As we give it to others, I give it to myself as well. That's just who I am. So I'm always wanting to learn ways that we can show up as our better selves and ways to feel better. But now the impact of imposter syndrome can go really deeply, right? For some people, it can feel. Say it.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Yeah. So Mama AI says, I remember when I was a teen, the perfectionism and other. Wait, I'm sorry. I remember when I was a teen, the perfectionism and other than, and other. Okay.
Yeah.
And either then got to me, and part of my reason I tried to take my life then. Oh wow. But once I did start working on my mental health, those imposter feelings
and weight became lighter.
And became lighter. I'm sorry, Mama, I botched that.
Wow.
Froze. Okay.
Thank you for sharing that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so vulnerable and transparent for you to share with us. And it just goes to show so much is going into, like, there's so many different stories that touch on this, you know? Oh, thank you for sharing that. Really, really, really thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad you felt safe to hold space in that place for us with here, you know, to open up, because it's another thing. I think with the perfectionist part is so many people have a hard time just opening up to even have the courage to open up, because they're worried about, like what you mentioned, Rachel, that because the criticism, you know, it just makes me so curious, like, where does it come from?
Yes.
Like,
there's a whole section on what causes it, which we can jump into that.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections on what causes it, like short paragraphs, and I'll just go through each one and we can talk about them quickly.
Okay, cool.
So it says,
let's do it.
In earlier studies, researchers found that imposter syndrome was connected to factors including family dynamics and gender stereotypes. Subsequent research has shown, however, that the phenomenon occurs in people of all backgrounds, ages, and genders. The first section says family upbringing. Research suggests that upbringing and family dynamics can play an important role. Specifically, parenting styles characterized by being controlling or overprotective may contribute to the development of imposter syndrome in children. For example, you might have come from a family that highly valued achievement, or you may have had parents who flip back and forth between offering praise and being critical. Studies suggest that people who come from families that experience high levels of conflict with low amounts of support may be more likely to experience imposter syndrome. I'm just going to stop right there for a minute because that was a mouthful, right?
Really relatable.
Your family upbringing, the experiences that you have at home, the way your parents show up with you, right? Next, we have new work or school opportunities. We know that entering a new role can trigger imposter syndrome. For example, starting college may leave you feeling as though you don't belong and are not capable, or you may experience the same feelings when starting a new position at work, right? Imposter syndrome appears to be more common when people are going through transitions and trying new things. The pressure to achieve and succeed, combined with a lack of experience, can trigger feelings of inadequacy in these new roles and settings. We have personality. Certain personality traits have also been linked to a higher risk of experiencing imposter syndrome. Some traits or characteristics that may play a role include low self-efficacy. And that refers to your belief in your ability to succeed in any given situation, right? Perfectionism, like we talked about, it plays a significant role in imposter syndrome. You might think that there is some perfect script for conversations and that you cannot say the wrong thing. You may also have trouble asking for help when from others, and procrastinate due to your own high standards. Oh gosh. And then we have neuroticism, and that one is one of the big 5 personality dimensions that is linked to higher levels of anxiety, insecurity, tension, and guilt. Wow.
It's deep.
It's so deep.
Yeah.
And then
it's so deep.
The final is social anxiety, and imposter syndrome and social anxiety may overlap, right? A person with social anxiety disorder may feel as though they don't belong in social or performance situations. You might be in a conversation with someone and feel as though they're going to discover your social incompetence. Or you may be delivering a presentation and feel as though you just need to get through it before anyone realizes you really don't belong there, right? It's so crazy how these things, they go through your mind and they take hold, and you don't realize what it is doing to you. It's like sucking your soul because you're not able to show up the way you would like to show up. Mama says,
she had something. She said 2 things. She said, my family is where I got it from. And starting my IG profile as Mama AI, I started another level, but also has helped me get over imposter feelings.
Yeah.
Wow. So many things. Those 5, it's like for me, what continues to stick out, because they literally correlate, they coexist.
Right.
They intertwine. Again, and only you hear, because you haven't heard anything from the outside yet. So you're practically telling yourself, this is going to suck. All these things or what have you. And then some people, it's a battle where they're like, trying to remember all the positive things, and then they're feeding into nonverbal language. Like, what's the shift? Oh, they're shifting. Oh, certain things that you learn, especially in corporate, or if you're in leadership, or all these different positions, how to read the room. And if the room doesn't seem to be reading the way you've been trained, or you feel it should be reading, there goes the intrusive thoughts. Like, oh my God,
Exactly.
Who's falling asleep? Or why did they get up and leave? Did they have to really go to the bathroom, or they're just trying to cut out? There's so many things you can't control, even if you did everything right, that you just still can't control what other people do. But those thoughts, if they're in your head or if they're in your heart, they will make you think you did something. And then the whole obsession with being perfect, like, what's wrong with making a mistake?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, there are mistakes that, yes, can have harsh consequences, yes, but we're perfectly imperfect. We're not created perfect. Even artificial intelligence isn't perfect.
Right.
And it's artificial intelligence. It depends on us to perfect it. Like, so it's very heavy. Yeah. It's really, really heavy.
Yeah. Shay LaFunk. Hi, Shay. Good to see you here.
I like that. Shay LaFunk. Okay.
Yes. Shay is a really great friend of mine, one of my love sisters, my God sisters. She said the last one of a combination I see with the students I work with, and it's tremendous. Yes, it is. I can understand that social anxiety is heavy when the kids are in school already, and they're doing, they're trying to show up and learn and present and be, and then, that social anxiety comes in, that imposter syndrome comes in, and those symptoms start coming up, and they start questioning who they are. And that's where you find yourself anyway. And after high school and college and those experiences, that they develop your core being, right? Who you're going to show up as an adult. So
yeah. Shay, I can relate. I can totally relate. When I was working with the DOE, excuse me, Rachel, I'm sorry. And my students, my 8th graders, especially right around junior high school, it's not as easy to incur. When the younger kids, you could talk with them, and then you maybe do an activity or whatever to help boost and reinforce their, the greatness they have in them. But once it gets to be around junior high school, at least where I was working at, it's a harder sell. You're not really trying to sell them. You're just trying to reinforce to help them see within themselves that you got this, you're good, all your abilities, your uniqueness, your amazingness. And it's a little bit more challenging, especially the social anxiety, because one of the things I used to hear was, I don't want to go on stage because I'm going to look stupid. Or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's going to suck. And it's like, we haven't even talked about what's going to happen yet, and so it's totally relatable. Let me read some comments. We have some comments here. All right. Okay, Mama says, there are things out of your control for a reason, and those things are not your responsibility. Be at peace with that. Yeah. Shay says, they have great things to share, and they question their scholarship.
Yeah, she works at the undergrad and grad students on a collegiate level.
Okay. I work with undergrad at the collegiate level. It makes my heart hurt sometimes.
Right.
Agreed.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. To watch it happen, especially when you belong somewhere, when you're supposed to be exactly where you are, but you're questioning that you're that you're capable, that you belong. I've been in those situations, and it doesn't feel great. It can breed other symptoms, I guess I should say, that come up that can be challenging to deal with as well.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Loving the feedback.
I love it. I love that people are engaged. Yeah. We're not gonna be too much longer, but I do want us to just look at a couple of real life examples. So if you don't understand how it can show up, then we got 3 scenarios that we're going to go over just really quickly. And then I'm going to give you some ways to cope with imposter syndrome per the article that we were reading. And I believe a lot of the strategies are really helpful, and they will make a difference. But some real life examples could be, if you don't understand exactly what imposter syndrome is, number one, say for instance, you've been working in a certain role for a couple of months, yet when people call you by your formal title, you feel like a fraud because you haven't mastered that position yet. That's a lot. The second is you've started your own business. However, you don't like to promote yourself because you have the same level of experience. You don't have the same level of experience or expertise as others in your field, making you feel like a fraud. I'm just going to tap my desk. And then the last one is you've been nominated for an award, but you feel like an imposter at the recognition ceremony because you don't feel that your achievements are good enough to warrant that nomination. And that's like a wow. That's a big wow, because these things happen in everyday life, and we forget that these experiences do control how we show up, right? When you don't feel great, when you don't think you deserve it, you're not going to show up as your best self. And that's unfortunate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for dropping that comment in the chat, Amarie. I really appreciate you.
No problem.
And now, coping with imposter syndrome. So to get past it, it helps to start asking yourself some hard questions. A few of the questions that you can consider are, what core beliefs do you hold about yourself, right? Do you believe that you are worthy of love just as you are? And must I be perfect for others to approve of me? Those are deep questions.